Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 154th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by that guy, PWSA's number one fanboy, Jaden.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I got my polls right there for once. And we've also, of course, got our resident Irish citizen, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hello.
Pleasant morning. Excited to talk about all things Vietnam War with you guys. You know, always exciting. So let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Apocalypse Now. Long time in the making here. It opened in the US on August 15th, 1979. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It is a war film, and the synopsis says, a US Army officer serving in Vietnam is tasked with assassinating a renegade Special Forces colonel who sees himself as a god. Where's you first? I'll go to Fitzy, actually, who is our resident expert of this film. I will ask you, how many times, no pressure, how many times do you feel you've seen this movie, Fitzy? What did you think of it this time? And, of course, the most important question, which cut did you watch?
Resident rewatcher, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's my fourth time. I think I just rewatched it twice where I, watched the theatrical and the Redux just to see what the difference was, I guess.
Okay.
So I think it's my fourth. It could be my fifth, but yeah, no, the movie is obviously really great, really chaotic and disturbing and, at times fun. So, I don't know, it's just a great film.
Excellent. But which cut did you watch this time?
Theatrical. I just watched a stamp version. I couldn't.
Oh, we all did the same thing. Okay. I assume you watched theatrical too, Jaden, yeah?
Yeah, I was debating because I too have the disc and the Redux was there as an option. I was like, should probably just run with theatrical this time.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I know you've seen Redux before, Fitzy, anyway, so that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I watched theatrical as well. I thought it was really something quite special. It was crazy. I really liked it. It lived up to my expectations, which for a film like this has definitely been like the film I needed to get off my watch list for the longest time. And now that I've done it, I'm really glad I did. And I felt the impact of the story. I'm still sort of grappling with some of its specifics, and maybe for a long time, which is sort of, the sign of a good movie. So, I definitely see why I would want to revisit it in the future, and check out the other versions for sure. It left me wanting to understand it better for sure. And I still feel like, but I still feel like I entirely experienced it though. I really felt the movie overall, and there's some crazy shit in this movie that I really liked. So yeah, great movie. Can confirm out there for first time in human history that Apocalypse Now is great. Jaden, first time viewer as well. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic as well. Like you, it lived up to everything I was expecting from it. It was on TV somewhat recently when I was around someone's house, and I started watching it, but it must have been the Redux I started watching because the intro was different. So the first 30 minutes I had seen before, but I guess I'd seen them with the Redux. But it really is just brilliant. And is this your first Vietnam War film?
Well,
the Five Bloods don't count.
Cool, and I've also seen Dropping Thunder.
Yeah, that counts more than the Five Bloods, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
It's the Vietnam War was a really interesting war because it was the first televised war, so people really got to see the atrocities up front close. And the fact that Francis Ford started making this film while the war was still going on is nuts. And I think it plays a lot to that factor plays a lot to the intensity of it and just how kind of in your face and brutal it is. And also he's a bit of a fucking nutbag, but it all plays for the better. In the run of this movie.
Is that really true? So when did the war end?
1975 is when the US withdrew.
That's astonishing. Holy shit. I can't believe it. I didn't realize it was that close. I sort of thought there was maybe a 10-year gap between it ending and the film coming out. So I was already quite blown away by the fact that a commentary like this and an analysis of an historical event like this could come, so close to the actual event. And to realize that they started it while it was still going, that's shocking to me. That's crazy. What an achievement that is. Wow. And of course, Francis had to throw himself in the movie as one of those guys shooting for TV, so good for him. Scott, let's start with the opening sequence, actually. This was crazy shit to me. This was hypnotic stuff. I don't know. I was pretty blown away by it. Was it startlingly different to the Redux version at all, or anything you remember of it?
Unless the channel was swapped halfway through, then yes, it is very different. Because I swear,
Okay.
Liam, correct me if I'm wrong, does the Redux not start with the Valkyries?
I don't remember that. I thought the Redux was like similar at the start.
Okay, maybe someone changed the channel halfway through, and that's why I copped that as a start. But I thought it started with the Valkyries, because that was like my first kind of like, because like that sequence is like what I watched while I was there. So.
Okay, you thought it was just like a TV, coincidentally another TV ad was on another channel, and it had Flight of the Valkyries in it as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because like I think like starting with the Flight of the Valkyries kind of makes sense to me, to be honest as well, because like it's just a balls to the wall kind of action introduction, and before like settling into like the more like kind of pensive stuff of the film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That sequence, that whole 10-minute sequence with Robert Duvall's character and the choppers, like it's a standout sequence, not just because it's awesome, but because like it feels like it has its own identity within the rest of the film as well, for sure. In that whole, sorry, I wasn't meant to start with the opening scene, but we'll talk about it now while we're here with it. No, that's cool. The that was so absurd, that whole sequence to me. Like I didn't realize, I was questioning if this shit is bordering on satire at this point. Like, is that how you guys felt about it? Is that the reaction I'm meant to feel? Because like the dialogue with Duval and talking about the waves and just shit about wanting to be a surfer was just so hilarious. I couldn't take any of it seriously at all. But it was just like hauntingly awesome, I guess, because it's disturbing, you know?
Yeah, like there was definitely funny like lines in that scene. The whole like he can drink from my canteen interaction, like well, it is.
Oh, that was so good.
Like and like seeing that it's based off a real thing, but obviously not played in the same way. Yeah, no, it definitely does. Like that character does feel like parody, but like I guess like when you do kind of have these like these war generals that are just ego and hubris, like that is kind of the person that they become. So like it's parody, but like it's I don't think it's that far from the truth, to be honest, either.
Right. So is that? Do you think that's the idea? Is that it is satirical, but it's like holding up a mirror to these real life figures, or like the presence of the army at the time, and just like saying how sort of look how absurd this shit is in this movie, but it's actually not that much more absurd than some of the shit that these people go. Yeah, right.
One of the things that gets me is the fact that they call them savages as they're chopping them down from the fucking helicopters.
Yeah.
Like they're like, look at these fucking savages as like they throw a grenade or whatever. And like it's really fucking despicable, and like but like it comes off as like as like an air of like satire to it, as you say.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like right now, I'm laughing and shaking my head. That's exactly like the whole reaction to it was. It was bewildering. Like as they were mowing these people down with these machine guns, it was like, are these people even their enemy? Like, who are these people in this village? Are they Viet Cong, like associated? You know what I mean? Like, who are they to these people? I was just so confused by what was happening, because they were just gunning down women and shit.
Well, I think they never kind of knew who was Viet Cong or not. And like the fact that they didn't know when they initiated, they kind of gunfire on these people made more Viet Cong soldiers, I think. Is how the Vietnam War kind of went.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had, as you mentioned, Jane, I had the trivia here that the interaction of the guy dying with guts hanging out of him, and the US general, whoever he was, saying any soldier who can fight for 3 days with his insides out can drink from my canteen any time, is a real quote that's on film, recorded from the war. But the part immediately after, which just killed me, when he just immediately gets distracted by the surfer showing up. Wait, is that a famous surfer over there? And it was just so funny, man. Obviously, that part, I hope anyway, isn't historically accurate. But I didn't realize that the Flight of the Valkyries, of course, was aware of its use in the film. I was waiting for two things. As a first-time viewer, I was waiting for two things in this movie. I don't know if you were waiting for any more, Jaden, but I assume you were waiting for these two as well. It was, of course, the choppers flying to Flight of the Valkyries, and the shot with Martin Sheen coming out of the water.
Yeah, definitely the 2 hours. Yeah, that's what I was looking for most. Yeah.
Were there any more?
No, I think I think that was probably about all I knew
Yeah.
of the film. I
Yeah,
guess
same
we
here.
did watch like a 4 minute clip back in Year 12 media of like a version of when Charlie. I guess it's from the Redux because it was cut differently to this, but like of like where like Charlie Sheen's like kind of hunting for not Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen,
Oh, yeah.
where he's hunting
Yeah.
for Marlon Brando. But yeah, so I was kind of looking for that as well, but it doesn't really rival the iconicness of the other two.
No, no. I actually always thought the shot with him coming out of the water, I always thought it was because he's got face paint on. But like
Mm.
out of context, just seeing it, I always thought he was coming out of mud, you know, because his face was. But no, it's not it. But anyway, I didn't realize Fly the Valkyries was diegetic. You know, I didn't actually think they'd be blasting it
Oh,
in the
yeah.
speakers as they, and that, but that added like that added something definitely to the tone of the scene where I never understood what obviously what I've never seen it, so I never understood what the scene was and what it was trying to achieve. And I just thought it was going to be okay, a really cool shot with cool music of helicopters, and it's going to be cool. Instead, it turned it like, oh, these dickwads are murdering people to this music as they blast it, and it just changes the whole sort of tone of the scene and what it's trying to achieve. I think it was pretty terrifying, man. I'm not gonna lie. That shot of them coming over the ocean, like that was an incredible shot of them of all the like. There's like 9 choppers in camera coming over the waves and just the music, and it's like that. Can you imagine being in that village and seeing that coming towards you? And they even have like there's quick scenes where they like show it from the villager's perspective, where there's silence and then they hear the music slowly coming towards them, and it's just like God. It's yeah, it's a massacre. It's pretty terrible, but it's also pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. But this Kilgore character, Robert Duvall's performance here was he won an Oscar for this, I think, which is hilarious because I think he was on screen for 11 minutes. He was standout, man. He was absolutely hysterical. I really enjoyed his performance, but I feel like it's also sort of an important character to the rest of the film, and sort of I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but he's sort of in a way to me at least represented like the incompetence of the US Army. Or I don't know about it. I don't know if incompetence is the right word. Maybe it is, but he represented the overreach or the absurdist nature of the US being there in the first place, sort of in one character, if that makes sense. Because I think it's pretty fair to say that Francis is definitely not a supporter of the Vietnam War, and that's the perspective this whole film comes from. So I feel like Kilgore's actually sort of important in representing that. Would you agree with that, Fitzy? If he's just maybe a component of that or not?
Yeah, like he feels like when Marlon Brando, like when Kurtz talks about the like wayward commanders that are kind of wasting their time. I think he's kind of that's the kind of person he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. And you see constantly throughout the movie just how disorganized this whole operation is for the US Army.
Yeah.
Many, many times, and how chaotic the whole thing is. And it really paints. This is no wonder. Like the US military, I read, didn't help with this movie at all. Didn't supply any equipment or anything. No wonder. This is probably the most critical piece of media I've ever seen against them. This really portrays them as hopeless, as not being able to manage anything at all, and yeah, really puts into question their entire intentions of being there overall. I mean, you see it a ton of times in the movie, but especially there's that scene where they go. It's like the bridge, I think, like the last checkpoint, and there's literally no one in command there.
They
Um,
started filming while the war was still going on as well. So while this war was going on, they couldn't at all in any capacity support a product that showed them as fools because for this war they relied so much on publicizing themselves as doing
yeah,
something heroic.
yeah. This film's like pretty like looking at it this way, it's pretty important. I would say for what it's trying to say, it's pretty and for how close it was to the event. Like I said earlier, it's pretty wild. That scene where they go there and the slow spotlight coming over Martin Sheen's face as he's crouched in the trench. That was eerie stuff. And the film's full of like just crazy good lighting and really solid cinematography that really just puts you in the place. That's only one tiny example of it. Um, Sure. Oh, okay. Let's talk about Willard, and let's talk about the opening scene.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Jan. First of all, a few things struck me right off the bat. The narration was really good. The vocal performance, the intense voice, and I read it wasn't Martin Sheen, which was shocking. That was shocking. But everything they do, the sound in the opening scene of the use of the fan and the chopper, and like the fan like representing the like this shit needs to be seen, man. I know everyone's seen it, but like I was blown away by it. Like the crossfades, the use of the sound, obviously meant to replicate the chopper, but it's just the fan in the hotel room, and how haunting that was, and the shadow of it coming over Martin Sheen's face. All of it was like nightmarish stuff. It was if you needed anything at all to put you immediately in the shoes of Will, and that this man is severely psychologically disturbed. I don't know if there's anything on screen that could have achieved it better. Definitely one of the best opening scenes I've seen in a long time, just to sort of put you in exactly what the movie's trying to achieve, and put you in the shoes of the character, you know? Surely this is like an iconic opening, you know? I'd never heard of it, but I thought it was incredible, personally.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it has some iconic status. Yeah, maybe it's just like because it's more extended, it doesn't. You know, it can't be like clipped as much, and the TikTok generation.
Okay. And obviously, an aspect of it was Martin Sheen's performance and some of the crazy shit he was doing in this hotel room, which I have some trivia about here. By the way, I've just got to say, I highly recommend everyone read the IMDb trivia page for this movie. This is one of the best IMDb trivia pages I've ever seen for a movie. This movie was a disaster to make. And some of the shit I read here, like I could only get like half of it in, man. It was crazy. Francis Ford Coppola, the poor man, like apparently wanted to kill himself multiple times. Just terrible stuff. Just some of the worst stuff. Anyway, I will say about this scene. An early scene where Captain Willard is alone in his hotel room was completely unscripted. Martin Sheen told the camera crew to just let the cameras roll. Sheen was really drunk. He punched the mirror, which was real glass, cutting his thumb. He began sobbing and tried to attack Francis. The crew was so disturbed and wanted to stop shooting, but Sheen told them to keep the cameras going. At the time, he was fighting a drinking problem. I think he had a heart attack. I don't know if it was after or he had a heart attack around this time as well. He got so caught up in the scene and his own inner struggles that he hit the mirror. He believed that doing this would help him face his problems. So this is like people's real ass issues are just bleeding onto the screen here. And because that moment, that shot where he does break the mirror and he's bleeding all over the bed, it's pretty gnarly. And knowing like no one was comfortable shooting this scene only adds to it, man. I don't know. It feels like I can't. It was such a disaster in every aspect of the production, but somehow it just like everything they were capturing on camera was just like perfect for the moment somehow. It's like a miracle of movie making or something, man. While I'm on the topic, Francis Ford Coppola shot nearly 200 hours of footage, and the production, which was originally scheduled for 6 weeks, took 16 months.
Yeah, I think this has to be like one of the most infamous stories of like movie making, disaster or whatever. Or, like,
right,
everything getting in the way. Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary as well?
No.
I feel like I need to watch that for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you think Francis went in like, man, The Godfather was terrible to make. I'm going to try and top that. Do you think that was his intention? Because why do all these master? Actually, maybe that's what it is. Because people talk about Francis Ford Coppola and about how he's only made X amount of good movies. Whatever. Maybe he needs to be put under like life-threatening scenarios to make a good movie every time.
What's his current condition like for Megalopolis or whatever the fuck it is?
Well, wasn't it about how it was going severely over budget and stuff? So maybe, dude, it's on track to be a masterpiece right now.
Yeah.
It's on track to be really good. Oh my god. To set the stage for some of the visuals as well, which we've talked about a little bit, but there's plenty more. The Philippines, which is where they shot a lot of this movie, had no professional film laboratories at the time, meaning the raw camera negatives had to be shipped to the US to be processed. Thus, the entire movie was shot blind. Francis Ford Coppola never saw a shot on film until after returning to California.
Well, bro shot 200 hours. Fucking, of course, there's going to be like something decent in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe he's going for a quantity approach. It's like, if I just shoot literally everything, then there'll be some good shit here somewhere. Crazy to finally watch it for sure. And especially with how well they make the whole setting feel like an apocalypse as well. Like, it really lives up to its name. I'll give it huge credit for that. Constantly throughout, but especially when you get to the goddamn, like when they're riding on the river and you get to the crashed plane. They really, I feel like that, at that point, they were really going above and beyond of making this feel like an apocalyptic event, you know?
Like them going up the river is based on the book Hard Darkness, where they go up the Congo. But like it is just such a good device, you know, like the descent into the into hell or whatever through the river. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it really is, the film really is just a sequence of events as you journey along the river.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's exactly that. It's just this descent of like every single event, every single scene can be easily broken up, and every single time it's like something challenges you in a different way or brings up something different.
Well, like I feel like the film has a lot of different tones as well, because as you said earlier, it's a little bit satire with Robert Duvall's character, but then later on with some of the deaths of the crew members on the boat, you get more like just blatant kind of disturbing stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then like obviously when you get to Curse, it's fucking just crazy. Just eerie as hell. So like the film literally goes through like different layers of disturbing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's sort of on the, I think it's fair to say it starts sort of with the satirical stuff, like you say. Then I would say it sort of goes into, I don't know, how would you describe basically the whole Playboy scene? Chaos.
Well, you do know like they did fly people out to do like shit like that as well, right? Like
I was going to ask that if that was a real thing.
Yeah. So they did do plenty of shit like that. Like that
Okay.
isn't like a part of like a delusion or like any kind of like added effect for like madness. It is like a real thing.
Oh, sure. But I'm just mean like the way it goes, like with everyone crowding the stage and hanging onto the helicopter. And
Sure.
I'd like to think that shit didn't happen, but yeah. So I would say you have that stage of it, like being the army just being totally deranged and like, is this a real operation? Is this a joke? Is this is just weird and chaotic and disturbing in its own sort of way? But then, as you say, Fizz, you just get into the straight up disturbing, to the violence when it comes to, for me, probably my favorite scene in the movie is actually the massacre on the boat of the locals. It was pretty shocking. My jaw hit the floor actually when this started going down. Just super confronting. I couldn't believe it. They literally started killing these people in cold blood. Completely trigger happy shit. It was just so startling the way it just came out sort of out of nowhere for me. Anyway, I did not think the scene was going anywhere in that direction. And they massacred these goddamn people. It just, in that moment, I didn't really know what to think of Willard until that moment. And then I had a pretty clear opinion on him after that, you know? It was sort of a defining moment for me in the film with him. I didn't realize he was that poor of a human being, you know, after he killed that woman. So that was, I think, if I got my timeline right, for me, that was when the film, like, straight up got gnarly. It's like straight up got, like, just disgusting sort of stuff. And then it only got more crazy from there somehow. But that was definitely a standout scene for me. Is it fair to say, do you guys feel that Chef is sort of the, I don't know, what would you call him? I wrote, he's the only sane crew member. I feel like he's us in the film. He's the crew member that has some sort of moral boundaries and some sort of understanding of like, this shit is messed up, and actually talks about it, you know? And you get that in this scene for sure. It is Chef takes the puppy, right?
No, that's Lance.
Lance takes the puppy.
Yeah.
Okay. The poor puppy just gets lost somewhere. Just listen, this cut.
Oh yeah, that was the most disturbing part of the movie. Yeah, puppy just gets lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Just nowhere to be found. Like where? Oh, God, I could speculate on where that puppy went all day for real.
He was shot or he fell in the river, man. It's not. It's not good. It's like whatever happens, it's not good.
Yeah, there's no comic book spin-off about the puppy and how it had a happy ending. Is there anything in the other cuts to your knowledge, Fitzy, about the puppy? Like, genuinely? Because I thought that might have been, because he literally disappeared from the movie, I thought that might have been something they cut.
No, I don't think so. The main thing, I'll just talk about it now. The main things that are in the Redux are like, there's this scene where they visit a French colony, and it's very like, I don't know, I guess they talk about more about imperialism and stuff, which is more what the book is about. which I like adds another layer to the commentary and like the disturbing aspects. And then there's just like extended shit. Like there's a second playmate scene, I think, where the crew are with the playmates and maybe one of them dies or something. And then there's just, yeah, like more cuts, more like in between scenes and stuff like that. Yeah. Overall, like the Redux does like slow it down a bit, but it also just adds a few more like intellectual layers, I guess. It's no more disturbing, but it just adds some cool shit.
All right, but the core of the film is sort of the same experience, would you say?
Yeah, although like the Redux definitely feels more like of an intellectual journey, I guess, like more literary. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of literary, like, what is Heart of Darkness, the book? You know, like, is this like, oh, you read the book and this is an adaptation of it, or is it like an element parts of it, or like what actually is that book?
It's pretty similar. Like that, it's the same kind of mission. They have to find codes at the end of the Congo, where like England basically like was took over kind of, and like England kind of did the same thing to the Africans in the book. So it's kind of the same, yeah. Except there's no war going on. It's just like more disturbing, things that the English colony did. Yeah.
Right. So it's not Vietnam.
No.
Got it.
Because I've watched this other film called Aguirre, the Wrath of God. I think it's pronounced Aguirre. It could be Aguirre, but I think it's Aguirre because it's Spanish. And it's about conquistadors in South America. It's based on Heart of Darkness as well, and like it's like it follows a lot of the same plot beats of like making their way up the river, but instead he's looking for the lost city of gold, but it kind of follows that same path of this kind of falling into darkness, falling into like what's the word, insanity that we were using. So I think that's I was saying that I think this so Apocalypse Now is a more direct kind of adaptation of the book, whereas Aguirre kind of has like a more thematic kind of semblance. I think is what people were saying. The Aguirre is shit house anyway, so you don't need to really worry about it.
That's interesting. A comparison I was thinking of, I didn't realize that about the book. A comparison I was thinking of, just plot wise, was this reminded me of Ad Astra, just recency bias, of course. Oh, you have an end destination trying to find someone, and the steps along the way is like increasingly like, a roller coaster of its own, sort of thing. But I guess that makes sense. Like I didn't really understand that. Like Heart of Darkness, I guess, is the source material for all the inspiration for like all of these different stories that put it in a different setting, shuffle shit around, have different themes, sort of. But like it sort of is the template. I didn't really understand that. That's cool.
Actually, yeah, Ad Astra plays very similar. So similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So with that in mind, like you talking about Willard and his journey, like is he the Heart of Darkness or whoever the character is in that book? Like is it about the protagonist?
The protagonist is more neutral in that book. I feel like the Heart of Darkness is more Kurtz and the things he observes, I guess.
Okay.
Don't they try? Aren't they meant to save Kurtz as well, not kill him?
I think so. I think when they get to him, he kind of realizes how insane he's gotten. And I don't think it's a assassination mission. I think it's slightly different, but they do end up. He does end up dying. Yeah.
Okay.
While we're I went to the NGV recently, and in the modern art kind of section, there was this one kind of graphic of the US flag, and it says that the USA surpasses all the genocide records, and so like the USA massacred 6.5% of the South Vietnamese. So the South Vietnamese weren't even the enemies, like the North Vietnamese were. Like USA was out there breaking records, killing Vietnamese people as well.
That's shocking. So the South Vietnamese people were. Hang on, are they literally just the civilians on the side of
No,
them?
so
like what?
so it's like it is. So it's like when the French fight. So like post World War II, France were pressured to give up Vietnam, but they didn't want to. So there was like a 10-year war about that between 55 and 65, where the French were trying to fight the Vietnamese to keep their colony. The Vietnamese won. There was meant to be a peace conference to decide what to do with the country, and then there was meant to be an election on who would be the next leader. During this time, the US came in with and they were meant to be like peacekeepers. The election didn't go their way though, So their operation of Passage to Freedom, whatever it was meant to just help people transition from South to North Vietnam, depending on their allegiance. But when the alliance, when the election didn't go their way, they kind of went full on occupation. And South Vietnam was meant to be the kind of capitalist side of the border, where was for that period. So South Vietnam had like this kind of like a puppet government going on with the Yankees, whereas North Vietnam was the communist kind of Viet Cong kind of side. So the South Vietnamese were not so much on their side because they didn't want this American presence after having fought the French for 10 years, but they were, on their side.
Like, politically, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't even like begin to visualize like how that statistic even comes about for them, to be honest. But all right, well, let's talk about Kurtz and the mission then, because I didn't really know how to feel about the resolution of all this at the end, except that the whole thing just felt wrong. I'll just put it that way, which I think is the intent. It felt evil. I think I'm meant to walk away feeling like this entire thing just was weird and off-putting, and that sort of reflects the war itself. But in terms of the specifics with Kurtz, like the idea of him being killed ended up being very morally grey to me. I'm not sure if it was the right thing to do. And I think that's the question you meant to have sort of walking out of the film. You meant to sort of wrestle with yourself, but I'm not sure. Like, do you guys have an opinion on that? If the mission itself was justified, if Willard did the right thing?
I think he's in the right. I understand there is definitely a weight to what he does and he has to grapple with himself, but like I think there is no possible outcome where you let Kurtz continue doing what he's doing. So he has to kill him, and like even Kurtz himself acknowledges like you would not be wrong to kill me, or whatever he says in that little bit. Yeah. I think it's definitely interesting. Like, does the Redux expand on Kurtz at all and like that kind of thing, Liam? Because I saw that like apparently like Marlon Brando had like an 18-minute like fucking monologue that was cut down to like 2.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, well, I was expecting a scene that must have been that wasn't reversed. It was when basically Martin's in like this daytime like prison, like it's like a cave kind of thing, and Kurtz comes out and he kind of has a longer talk with him with like children around him. It's more like you get like a nicer side of him, I guess, but it's still disturbing. But obviously,
yeah,
okay,
there's a bit more Kurtz stuff in Redux.
Yeah, you see, I feel like we're just missing a tad bit of Kurtz to kind of fully grip that he was this kind of delusional but yes charismatic and just really fucking out there kind of leader that can kind of hypnotize these people, because like we kind of only get like the really like kind of malignant side of him, and so Sheen's Willard's decision seems a bit easier. I would have liked to see that other scene that Liam's talking about.
I agree with that. Like I feel a lot of different ways about it. Like he's clearly a murderer. The state of the location where they find him, with all the bodies and heads around, is clearly off-putting. Obviously, he's clearly a cult of personality type figure, in a bad way, I would say. But at the same time, like I think I understood where it all came from in that, and it helps a lot with how they portrayed the army throughout the film. Of like, it's pretty clear this man was totally over the US Army. He escaped the bureaucracy. He escaped the incompetence of their organization, and I sort of could understand that and rationalize that. And
one of his final lines, like one of the ones that struck me the most, is that we train young men to drop fire on these people, but we don't let them write fuck on the side of their planes because it's obscene.
Exactly.
Like that. That's like the perfect thing that summarizes him, and like that's why I'm like, oh shit, maybe he's got something going on here.
100%, and I think that's a great line, and that sort of ties in my brain back to what everything was set up so well with the sequence with Kilgore earlier on. Was just like, what's going on with these people, man? Like they are, as you've kindly pointed out, Jaden, with that terrible statistic about the genocide they commit. But then there's all these bullshit rules they have in place and nonsense, and it really also makes me question the mission itself and the idea of like, why do the higher ups in the army want Kurtz killed? Because you can say, oh well, it's because he's dangerous, he's a murderer. Okay, all right, fair play. but like it adds this whole new tinge to it where it's like, well, hang on, do you just really not like him because he undermines you? You know, he undermines your own power. And do you feel challenged? Is it just because you feel challenged by him and there's sort of nothing else to it? So I was there was a whole other layer there for me as well. But how do you feel about this, Fizzy?
No, yeah, I definitely think it's because he's he's going against the U.S. Army's values, and he's turned sides or whatever. But he's not on any particular side. He's just kind of lost it at all the hypocrisy, I guess. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, they do feel challenged by him, I think. Yeah.
Do you think it was the right thing for Willard to do to end up killing this man?
Yeah, I don't think there's any. Well, I don't think there's much like moral question about killing him. I think like the decision to not blow up the compound there was like a good one because I think that's what Kurtz maybe wanted, or what the US Army also maybe wanted. But
Mm.
yeah, like I don't think, because I think even Kurtz, they said like Kurtz is in his own way insane and in pain, so it's morally great, but I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like uncomfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I didn't stand against the decision entirely or anything, but I am sort of a little bit in the middle, I guess. I was also I just didn't know if Willard was going to end up making that decision. You know, like he talks. I think like literally like not long after he gets the mission, like right off the bat, he's like pretty clear. He's like, I don't even know if I'm going to complete this mission. Like I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to react to Kurtz. Like he just wants to find him and talk to him. He sort of makes that pretty clear. Like, so it was not at all a done thing that, oh yeah, I'm going to go here and kill this man. Like, it was very much like part of the anticipation throughout the film for me was, okay, let's get to Marlon Brando, but also how's Willard going to react to Marlon Brando? You know, like that was sort of that was a whole other thing. So I wasn't even sure he was going to make that decision. So for him to do it, especially when like he seemed quite cognizant of, he seemed sympathetic to Kurtz. You know, I know he was reading his journals throughout the film, and the more he read, he even said like, doesn't he literally say like, the more I read of this guy, the more I like him, or something like that. Like the more I sympathise with him.
Yeah.
And he makes the point, which is totally true, about how is Kurtz so bad when guys like Kilgore exist, which is totally true. So I was sort of thinking, is this is going to end up building to him not doing it? I didn't think he was going to join the cult. I think they set up the idea of, because there was the other soldier, Colby, who went there with the mission previously, who ended up joining the cult, which was a really cool touch, actually. Really nice touch. So I think I didn't think Willard was also going to join the cult, but it put that idea out there at least. But I don't know. I was still surprised by the decision, and it felt very much like it wasn't a fun thing, I don't think, for Willard. It wasn't a satisfying thing for him as a human being.
Well, I think establishing that he was already done with the war at the start of the film, or not that he was done with the war, but he was already in this kind of like psychosis. It was never going to be like an easy or a good thing for him.
No, yeah, that's right. So
there was never like a cathartic release to
no,
this kind of killing that you kind of do so often,
exactly. It was the opposite. It was like this made it worse, at least as a viewer, because when we get there, like I would describe it as, I think the imagery, of course, the iconic shots are part of that, but Martin Sheen's body language as well, like just as he's moving through the shadows, as he's sneaking up on Kurtz that night, like the whole way, the whole scene of the assassination attempt, the way that's played is like, I think it's really portrayed as this guy is at his lowest now, this human being, and like he is fully descended into the realm of like, he's basically he went from being like a traumatized soldier to being like, I don't know, like a demon or something. Like that's obviously hyperbolic, but like to being the worst possible version of himself. He's fully descended into the darkness at this point, which is obviously portrayed visually as well. So I don't think it's something I meant to, exactly, find satisfying, the completion of that arc for him. I guess I'm not 100% sure what that descent is exactly represents for Willard, you know? I guess if it is just meant to portray like the war itself and what it does to people, that sort of would make the most sense to me, especially with the last line and stuff.
What, the horror? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit let down with that, to be honest.
The horror? You were a bit let down?
I was like, just say it was like voted one of the best lines of all time. I was like, really? I was like, it's nice, but like, I was like,
it's pleasant. No, I really liked it. I really liked it. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to ask, like, is the film at the end of the day, in terms of Willard's journey, is it about him becoming the absolute worst person? And maybe justifiably so, but because of the war and the circumstance and what he's witnessed and all that sort of shit. But is that the arc he has here?
does the Redux end on the same note, Liam, or is there like a more conclusive type of thing to it? Because I think that'll answer your question.
That's a good question. I think it ends similarly. Just, I don't know, the curse stuff at the end does add some extra stuff, I guess, some extra sympathy for him, but I don't know.
The fact that like this film doesn't really have like it doesn't have a resolution. It ends with the climax almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like,
yeah.
Theoretically, like, curse is like keeping him there alive so he can go back and, tell his family that he was fine or whatever, or like tell people about him. But like in the end of Heart of Darkness, that's kind of what happens. He Charlie in that book goes back to, who's not Charlie Sheen, his name is Charlie in the book. He goes back to Kurtz's like family and tells them, he was fine or whatever. Yeah, it is very different. Because in that, like, it has like London is like the Heart of Darkness. It's like very symbolic and stuff. But
okay.
it is
because it's like the imperialist kind of story.
Yeah, it's more, yeah. That's the thing about the novel is it is like the imperialist theme is very strong, and like that's why it was kind of cool in the Redux version when they add this stuff about like the French plantation colony and all that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the movie ends similarly. Although Andy can tell you, he watched the Redux version.
Yeah. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Had this film been about the French-Vietnamese conflict, it'd probably be more appropriate thematically for the like in regards to like the book adaptation.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But like that, when they go to the plantation, is like a long, like extended. That's like the biggest change, I guess. It's like 15, 20 minutes, probably more. Yeah.
How nuts the score and like how much it adds to like this kind of soundscape of hell.
Oh yeah, it's
a great way to put it. Yeah.
It's always like way more modern than I think it is. Like even the first time I watched it, it's like the score's very synthetic. It's very trancy and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And seeing that like it was like kind of Coppola and his dad, I think it was, that made it. It kind of made it feel more like it was just like kind of. It feels like it was kind of generated to just add to that kind of feel rather than be a score, Because there isn't really a time where I can think of like a specific kind of sequence of music. I can only think of like specific like kind of sounds that kind of echo through.
Yes, it's much more of a soundscape. Like 100%, I agree. Yeah. I love the slow pulsing as they finally approach on boat the camp. When they finally get there, and he's Willard's like up in the whatever you call it, the crow's nest or whatever. That was pretty horrifying. Another creepy scene was, of course, when they were killing the cow.
Yeah, did you read about that in the trivia?
Yep.
That's so fucking funny. Like it's horrible, but it's so fucking funny as well, man.
Oh my god. Oh, you mean like the legal circumstances around it?
Yeah, but you see how like it was like he tried like Coppola tried to like lessen his like involvement with it, but then like crew like years later like came out and was like, oh yeah, no, he was fucking fully into it. Like he ordered animals specifically for the village to get slaughtered and filmed it. Like it's so fucking bad. Like, but like he's like, oh yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so there's this scene where you see these people, the village cult people execute this cow, like decapitate it and like chop it up alive, and it's real, like in camera, like what you see, it's actually happening to this cow, which was like terrible. But I thought it was actually really, really effective in terms of the way that it was cutting back and forth between that and Kurtz's own execution. That was what you were talking about, Jan, with like missing some of those extra scenes with Kurtz where you could have had a bit more sympathy for him. Like, I agree with that. I think that would have been cool, but I got enough sympathy there. Like, right now, you're making the comparison between Kurtz getting butchered and this innocent cow getting like completely slaughtered, and you're making that direct comparison on screen in the 20 seconds or however long it took. I was like, that's a sympathetic ploy for me for Kurtz, for sure. It felt like a real, like, yeah, I don't know, like this totally. Obviously, Kurtz is not innocent. I'm not saying that, but like it played that way of like this, defenseless man who has been through a lot, just getting mowed down like this.
With the questions that we're asking this week, like I was I was like first asking it because like of like the use of Valkyries.
Yeah.
But like it applies so fucking well to the use of the doors, man. Like that, fucking what track was it? The end or some shit like that. Like it's used at the start when Shane's like losing his mind, but it's also used later on, isn't it? Or am I?
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah,
at the end.
Yeah. Like that's so fucking good.
So sorry, is that the song that's playing in the scene I'm talking about with the killing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know the one. Okay. Yeah. Yep. That was really good.
You see, and the Doors have this other song called "Riders of the Storm," which I don't think is in this film, but it would fucking apply so well to this film as well.
Yeah.
But then like I was also in the trivia was talking about like how like Francis Ford wrote the entire film and like was editing it to the Doors specifically. So I guess like he like had the same feeling but just didn't want to include it.
I guess. Oh wow. Lawrence Fishburne was 14. Nice, dude. That's crazy to me. He lied about his age to get on the production. That's I can't believe he's 14 years old. Wow, that's crazy. Good for him. We talked a lot about Kurtz, but what about Brando? Francis Ford Coppola believed that Marlon Brando was familiar with Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, the novel on which the movie is based. When Brando arrived on set, this was a whole other level of disaster. No wonder Francis wanted to top himself after working with this man. That was a bit harsh, sorry. But Coppola was horrified to find that Brando had never read Heart of Darkness, did not know his lines, and had become extremely overweight. Kurtz had always been written as a tall and very thin character. After some panic, Coppola decided to film the 5'7" Brando as if he was massively built and a brute to explain his size, which he did very well, actually, and kept the camera away from his huge belly. Holy shit.
In that scene you're talking about in the Redux Land with the Daylight Cave or whatever the fuck it is, would you not see a bit more of Brando?
Well, the camera's always kind of above his shoulders, or it's like from a lower angle. Obviously, you can always manipulate it like that.
So much of it, I was reading. So much of his stuff in the film is improvised. Like he's just basically making shit up. The 18-minute monologue you were talking about, Jane, it was just a stream of consciousness. He was just rambling, and I think did you read the part where like a lot of it was incoherent? Like it made no sense.
Didn't they say that most of it was brilliant, some of it was incoherent? Wasn't that?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But like. It's just so crazy, man. And like, but that's the thing is that makes it really cool. Is that, and then of course, like what we were just talking about with the visuals of having to hide him, and like disguise the fact that he's really fat, and the way they were doing that was super effective because the scene where you meet him,
it worked out for the better. To be honest, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about earlier with the miracle of this movie is how like every disaster somehow made the movie better because. The scene where you meet him and it's the slow shadows and it takes ages to get the reveal of his face, and even when you do, it's like he slowly comes into the light, and it's like this. It really creates a strong presence for him.
He feels sickly at first when he's laying down.
Yeah,
he feels like he's physically ill, which kind of mirrors his mental state.
I think he is sick. Is he not actually sick?
Oh, is he not?
Did he have malaria? Did they say? I can't remember. I thought he actually was sick.
Oh, they said like the place like felt like it had malaria.
Oh, okay. I sort of interpreted it like he actually was sick.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, that was such a strong scene because it was like, talk about giving a character and a reveal of an actor. Like, obviously it's Marlon Brando. But giving that reveals so much gravitas. Like, and if they didn't have to hide him and stuff, like, it would feel like a whole different scene, I would think.
That's like a meta part of the movie that adds to the whole journey. Like the fact that you're going to see Brando at the end in this, this crazy role, and then he kind of lives up to it.
What about Colonel G. Lucas or whatever his rank was?
Oh yeah, dude, I had no idea Harrison Ford was in this
Nah,
movie.
neither,
Not a
to be
clue.
honest.
Oh.
I've looked
Not
at his
a clue.
I've looked at his letterbox so much, and I feel like it's always there, but I always like my eye like skirt over it,
Yeah,
and like seeing him again, I was
yeah.
like, oh shit.
That was cool. Yeah, Colonel G. Lucas. Wow, a bit on the nose there, Harrison.
But you see that that's like Coppola took that as like a slap in the face later in production, because of like their strained relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like
I did
Lucas and
not see
Coppola had
that.
like a falling out.
Yeah.
So Coppola then began to feel like that Ford naming himself after Lucas was like a fuck you, although he did it because fucking Ford was Harrison Ford, not Ford Coppola. Ford was like, obviously thanking George for THX.
Yeah.
But like that's another thing that added to like Coppola's like kind of fucking mentalness about this film.
Right. Oh my god, dude, it's so funny. Like all of these people like had falling out to various points. It's like pretty weird. And then they, like, I'm just waiting for us to have a falling out. But then when we're 60, we'll do the podcast again.
Yeah. Well, when we start making films, we have creative differences.
Yes, exactly, 100% for sure. I don't know if I want to read Andy's full review. Do I want to do that?
He has a abbreviated version on Discord.
Oh,
abbreviated. Yeah.
Abbreviated.
Okay, Andy wrote in a review for Apocalypse Now. He watched the Redux version. This is interesting. He said, I opted to watch the Redux cut because I've got it on DVD, which is quite helpful. The theatrical version would have probably given me a more engaging, lean, and groundbreaking war picture, but the advantage, I think, with the Redux cut is that it's more of a frightening intellectual expedition, sort of, yeah, that's what you were saying, Fizzy, about the life of Vietnam War than simply just an entertaining war film. Well, this theatrical was not an entertaining war film, but I get your point. Everything is so cruel, chaotic, and absurd about this Redux cut that it's no wonder Coppola wasn't allowed to show it at the time of the original release. But about 15 to 25 out of 49 of the extra minutes of the extra footage in the Redux, an entire thing with French blokes sitting at a dinner table with Martin Sheen's character, ranting on about how Americans are bad or how war is affecting them and all that shit. Is that how you would also summarize that scene, Fitzy?
Yeah, that's a good description.
He says, did you get to see the scene where Clean gets a funeral / send-off? Well, no, we just, like I mentioned, we just had the scene where there was a quick little narration for him. I'd imagine the Redux cut would have been irritating to watch because of those pretentious scenes alone. Do you know what the scene is, Fitzy, and would you also call it pretentious?
I think like the French thing can be seen as pretentious, maybe, yeah. Especially because the film's less about imperialism than it is about war. But I still like those scenes. But yeah, sure, they could be described as that by some people, potentially.
Yeah. Okay, all right. No, that's fair enough. Andy, in his review, and I saw it in his Letterboxd one, and I took note of it there too. He said he called the movie cruel, chaotic, and absurd. I read that and I thought I couldn't think of 3 better adjectives for this movie. I totally agree. And he gave the film a 9 out of 10. So he loved it. Very good.
What's an interesting thing is that, like, I don't know how much truth there is to it because like I can't speak to it on my own. But when we were learning about this in fucking history, something that we were told was that the Vietnamese are more forgiving of the US than they were than they are of the French, because like fair enough, like the French did have like a fucking colony of, like, it was a colony for like, I don't know, a couple decades, 100 years maybe, probably a couple of decades. But like the fact that they like the US is now kind of, they've almost absolved them of what's happened there. Not entirely, like I'm sure there's still plenty harboring a grudge, which very fair. But like it's just this discussion of the French scene it really interests me, because like the fact that it seems like these French people are talking about the evil of the US without being aware of their own, and the fact that the French is still the one that are vilified there. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah. You should check out the Redux.
I was almost going to watch it last night. I was almost going to do it back to back because I was like, "Fuck, I need more of this." But I was like, it might hamper my perception, so I was like, I'll hold off.
Yeah, fair enough. Then you got to watch the final cut too.
Yeah.
I don't know where to get the final cut. No.
Oh,
you can buy the disc at JB.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it online.
So the final cut only takes out things from the Redux. It doesn't add anything new in, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, it's supposed to be more like polished version of the Redux, I guess. So polished.
Right.
What was your favorite shot in the film? Mine is like when they leave the last, like where they leave the place where there's no commanding officer, and it's just, I don't know, it's just perfect. It's like the, you know, all the fucking colored smoke and shit, and the the synthetic score, and I don't know, it's just a great shot.
That's really good. I'll have to say it's probably a basic bitch, but I don't mind. It's probably at the start, the crossfade. This, by the way, I think I've said it earlier, but this shouldn't be underestimated that this is Crossfade the movie. Never seen more crossfades in a movie, but it's the crossfade from the helicopters to the fan on the ceiling, the spinning.
I think there's definitely far more impressive shots later on, but I think like the Kilgore on the battlefield, like just kind of standing there while everyone's carrying around him, like the kind of poses he pulls, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His posture is very good. Like genuinely, like the way he carries himself as he's walking around on the beach and stuff.
And like the fact that he's making people surf during like the fucking fighting, like I thought he meant like we'll clear it out and then we'll surf, but no, he's like fucking like he's nuts.
Makes them go and surf.
Yeah. But did you say like he was meant to? He was originally going to be called General Carnage, but they changed it because that was too on the nose for his like kind of thing. So that kind of leads back into like the parody of it, like where like
he right. Like, if there was any doubt,
yeah, it's too obvious to call him General Carnage. So
yeah. Thank God they didn't. Although it's actually Kilgore.
That's like fucking Star Wars naming conventions. You know, like I'm gonna die or whatever. Fucking
Master, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys have got pretty similar brains when it comes to naming characters.
Yeah, no wonder they were fucking friends.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. That's so funny. Yeah, I actually didn't realize that about Kilgore's name until right now. That's really funny.
But it's just again on that, like I don't want to hop on and make this too long, but like the line, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, like once again going on with like the parody thing. Like the writer thought that was going to be one of the first things cut because it's like so on the nose kind of thing, and like it. I think even Duvall's like kind of delivery of that kind of like not that specific part, like the bit just before it, like the where he's talking about like walking up the burning hill, like is fucking among the best of the list of the movie. Which when you've got like all the narration, when you've got all the Brando bits, like that's a pretty impressive feat as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Duvall's a beast, man.
Mm.
He's still out there. He's still kicking. Good for him. I think he's like 93 years old or something. He's like Clint Eastwood territory. Okay. Let's get to our final verdicts for Apocalypse Now. Fitzy.
This film's always been like an 8 for me, but I'll give it a 9. Definitely deserves a 9 or a 10. Talked about it. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll give it a strong 8 this time, but yeah, I can definitely see it shooting up there in the future for sure. Jaden.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 at the moment, but watching the Redux is gonna change that because I'm either gonna love the Redux and give it a 10, or not like the Redux, appreciate this more and then give it a 10. So like it's a 9 with a 10 pending, you know.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That's so funny. It's like I don't know which way it's gonna go, but it's gonna be a 10.
Yeah.
Let's get into news chat. Let's do quick trailers. Fitzy, you saw Oppenheimer, right?
Oh yeah, I saw Oppenheimer. Yes.
How was this one?
It's pretty good. We saw more Damon action. Like we saw like 5 seconds of Downey. The historical context is more defined. They have to make the bomb before the Nazis do, and that's kind of the point, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like Robert Downey Jr. looks totally different. It looks really cool. He looks just older, and
he has changed like physically in real life as well, though.
Fair enough.
Is that true?
Yeah, he's like I don't want to spread rumors, but like whether he was sick, but like he is like thinner, paler, a bit more gaunt.
Got it. Okay.
No, yeah, it was a good trailer. Gave us a little bit more, but not too much. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And you also watched Flaming Hot?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I actually want to talk about this, but it's just funny. Like people, you know, they're making movies about anything. You know, Flaming Hot Cheetos. Like sure.
Right.
Do we even have those in Australia?
Not that I know of, but
Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Not that I'm the target audience.
Do we?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen them before, to be honest.
Fitzy, next time you're at work, can you take a photo for us and send it to the group chat?
To the Discord.
Because I always thought like our response to Cheetos were like Twisties, and like that we just didn't have like a
Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
or like completely
that makes
different
sense
products, you know.
Yeah, but you can at least grant that we have Cheetos.
I don't think I've ever seen.
Okay.
Well, you see,
Yeah.
I think we have I think we have the Australian Cheetos, right? Don't we? Like the little puff balls, whereas the American ones like those kind of like long things, right?
Oh yeah, what are the balls? Are yeah, I know what you're talking about with the
Cheeto
balls. Are
Puffs.
they Cheetos?
Cheeto
Cheeto
Puffs.
puffs.
Cheetah puffs, yeah. Whatever.
But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we also have normal Cheetos in
I
Australia.
don't think I've ever seen them.
Are they meant to be like Twisties?
Well, Twisties are
Is that the
probably
idea?
meant to be like them, aren't they?
Oh yeah, okay, fair.
I don't know.
But like they are similar product.
Yeah. No, well, no, because Twisties are way smaller, and like Cheetos are like they're actually puffy, but the puff balls are just a bowl.
Mm.
Like think Toy
Oh,
Story
okay.
2. Think Toy Story 2. It's like the
Yeah, but
long,
I can't
puffy-
imagine them in my hand. You know?
They can-
I'm pretty sure I've ate them before, but you're reading some good questions. Here.
Question of the
Zach
week.
can resolve this in a few weeks for us.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Why haven't we asked as a question of the week, like what's everyone's favorite, Twisties flavor or favorite shapes flavor or something? You know, like what's the best question in that realm? Is it shapes? Like people like debating shapes flavors. I think,
I feel like we've definitely discussed shape flavors.
but not as a question of the week.
Probably not, but just ad nauseum,
Sorry.
just amongst
I'm
us.
gonna add that to the list.
Mm.
Question of the weeks, yeah. Okay, all right. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
Yeah, I finally got around to watching Royal Tenenbaums. It was I think I got 2 more West films to go before Asteroid City.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
This is like I was in my mind I always doubted this film as being because like it is kind of lauded as one of his best films. And in my mind I was doubting that because I was like how do you top the other shit he's done? But like it really truly is. This film is fucking breakneck, but not in like like a kind of not in your action sense. It's just that there's stuff always kind of going on in like the best kind of way, and it just moves so fluently and just so nicely and briskly, but you never feel like it's dragging you along at all. It's just beautiful as well. Like the characters are so fucking beautiful, man. Like it's just everything is just written so well. And obviously like you got that kind of absurdness that he brings along to films, just perfectly married up to like the writings, and it's just like his early films seemed like a lot more heartbreaking than what his later films do. Like when you look at stuff like this and when you look at this Life Aquatic and then Darjeeling, it's a lot more character drama based, and there's a lot of like kind of really like kind of heavy shit. Whereas you kind of lose that later on, and not that that's entirely a problem because like I do love the kind of fun of Fantastic Fox and Budapest and all that shit. But like it is also brilliant to see him kind of fucking deal with these themes, and because of the way he does it, it does just generate just fucking beautiful things.
Gotcha. So, have you got a ranking on Letterboxd for West films?
It's private, but I can make it public. Yeah.
Where's this sitting right now?
3rd.
Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I discovered Elliot Smith from Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, dude, I did not. I never thought that scene would come along, and when it did, and just the dullness of kind of the action. Oh, dude, it was fucking devastating, man.
Oh yeah.
Fitzy, what have you been watching?
Me? Why are you laughing? What's that?
Nothing.
No? Okay.
No?
Sure. Keep it to yourself. Keep your secrets. I watched Cloverfield, which was pretty gnarly, pretty fun. It was way less like gimmicky than I expected, and the actual aliens were pretty cool. They were pretty scary. Like the little ones were kind of xenomorphy, but they were scary in an insect kind of just creepy way. But yeah, the survival aspect of like the dwindling kind of cast of characters was really like done really well, and the VOD like capturing POV, whatever you want to call it, thing was done really great. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Is it like found footage? Is that what it is?
Yeah, found footage. That's right.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, best use of popular music on screen is what I wrote.
Yeah.
Okay. Luke said, my first answer, and probably the best answer, would be the music in American Psycho. My next answer would be the Guardians trilogy, although the music was better in the first two. Okay. And a special mention to Breaking Bad's use of Baby Blue and Crystal Blue Persuasion. Careful for spoilers. Oh, yeah, no, it's all good. We got you, Luke. That's fine. Yeah, okay, all right. I mean, American Psycho was one I saw come up a lot, for sure. I think even when, didn't you guys mention it last week as well? It was going to be an answer. Andy said, quick and simple. Quick and simple for you, Andy. Now I have to read this shit. Tien Me Me by Teresa Teng in Comrades Almost a Love Story, sung by the most iconic Chinese language singer of all time, most people would say. Oh, so what, is Teresa Teng the most iconic? Is that what he's saying? The most iconic Chinese language singer of all time? Forgive my ignorance, Andy. I'm sorry. I assume so. And California Dreamin' by the Mamas and Papas in Chungking Express. Hopefully Liam enjoyed that one.
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, okay. There you go.
What's interesting about that is like I knew California Dreaming would be in Chungking Express, but they also have the Cranberry song. I think it's either Dreams or Lingo. I can't remember which one. Probably Dreams, but that's played over and over again as well. I enjoyed both, but I enjoyed that more.
I wonder if Andy's livid that California Dreamers became a TikTok song recently.
Hasn't?
No,
would Andy know?
He probably wouldn't know, but I wonder if him hearing this now would make him livid.
Andy, comment below how pissed off are you right now?
Mm.
I don't know how triggering this is for you guys, but my answer is definitely, like, you guys know me. I'm not a music connoisseur, but so there's probably other examples I've just forgotten or don't really know the music well enough to have remembered. But I went with Thor Ragnarok, man. That use of that goddamn Led Zeppelin song is unbelievable to me. Like, genuinely, it actually, I think that movie was probably brought up a point by the use of that song for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was just so perfect and so badass. I loved it.
My one is Mummy, which is a French indie film. They use so many popular songs. They use a Coldplay song. They use Blue Dubba Dee Dubba Die. They use fucking Lana Del Rey, and I think like they're supposed to give like an air of, I don't know, happiness to them, but they're usually like darker. Like the lyrics of the songs are usually darker, and it's used incredibly well.
Cool. Jen still looks offended that I chose Thor Ragnarok, but anyway.
I've got so fucking many I want to talk about, and like there's like I feel like there's some like I feel like obliged to talk about, but like what's my actual answer? I'm like,
okay, talk about as many as you like.
Nah, but that ruins the spirit of the question, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, Andy said two, so I'll say two.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
The first one I'm going to say is the use of Angel by Massive Attack in Snatch by Guy Ritchie. Fantastic use of the song, fantastic song. It just suits the mood so perfectly. Really, I know it's usually a negative thing to kind of date your film, but using that song in the setting with the film, it just puts a perfect timestamp on the film, and it just fucking works so well. My second choice is one that I think we've just spoken about before, but it's Our Children in Deathly Hallows. My mate Nick Cave, getting a shout. Just the perfect moment in a nearly perfect film, you know, like just fantastic.
Yeah, I should have expected that one to come up, but I forgot about it. Yeah, for sure. Nick Cave, of course, had to get an answer in here.
Bro, Nick Cave's music has been used so fucking much in films. I'm not sure if you guys realize, but fucking the Bad Seeds are used really often.
Yeah, shout out to that scene. I know Fitzy loves that scene. I love that scene too in Deathly Hallows. It's great. All right. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Leave us a comment on Instagram or Spotify, or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is, which is the best movie or TV trailer you've ever seen? Let us know. I think this is a fun one, actually. Considering we talk about that many friggin' trailers, you know. Okay, that's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
We're doing the poll winner, which was The Fifth Element. which is on Stan.
Congrats to Jaden.
Chris Jane about a single man.
White flag up in here.
That's surrender. That's not defeat.
Yeah,
I mean,
you've
same
already
thing.
lost. I mean, you don't have the right to waive it after you've lost, right?
I feel like, no, you're right about that, but I feel like I sort of waived it last week, you know.
When you chose it. Mm.
Yeah, I made it clear. I knew, you know.
It's probably better that you lost, because at least when you're away next month, it'd be me and Liam going head to head as well. You know.
Oh yeah, Jaden. That was that's why I chose
was the plan. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I was being very, very nice about that. Yeah. So it's just on Stand, yeah.
And SBS, so we have SBS. But, yeah, I don't usually mention SBS, but it's on SBS.
Do you reckon we have a better chance of getting a sponsorship with SBS than Stand at this point?
No, I think SBS has less money than Stan and are less willing to do fucking sponsorships.
Yeah, the sponsorship policy makes sense, but I don't know. They have ads these days. SBS, you know, they got some cash.
Do they?
SBS do ads now, yeah, for sure.
Well, only on the on demand or on TV?
No, on their channel. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
I think they started like 5 years ago, but
It shows how much I've used it recently.
Breaking news, yeah. I don't know. You can probably find when it started. It was in the last few years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, disgusting, no doubt. All right. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate Liam and Jaden for being here as always. Have a great rest of your week and goodbye.